As we know, FlutterFlow natively supports Supabase, and Supabase offers very cost effective pricing in comparison to Firebase. Additionally, Supabase is an open source project, so you can self host Supabase on your own server. So, let's see how we can self host on our own server. For this tutorial, I will be using AWS Lightsail. You can choose any cloud service provider. The process is going to be the same for all. Let's create an Ubuntu server instance. Once you have created the instance, connect it to an SSH client. You can use Lightsail's built-in SSH client. However, I prefer using an external SSH client. So I will be using MOBA Xterm. You can use any SSH client to connect to the server. So let's connect to the server. For the SSH key, you can either download the default key or create a new one from the Lightsail panel. It's connected now. Let's run some basic commands before starting the installation. The first command is sudo apt update. Press enter. Now run sudo apt upgrade. This process is going to take time, so be patient. Also, press enter if prompted for anything. The upgrade is completed, so let's install Docker and Docker Compose. To install Docker, type sudo apt install docker.io. Press Y and enter. Docker is successfully installed. Let's clear the console. In order to use Docker, we have to enable the Docker using sudo systemctl enable Docker and start it with sudo systemctl start Docker. Now let's check Docker status using sudo systemctl status Docker. As you can see, Docker is active and it's running. Let's clear the console. Now we need to install Docker Compose. Go to the official Docker website, copy the download URL and paste it in the terminal. Let's locate the executable file. Give the file permission by pasting the command. Now we can check if the Docker is installed or not. Just paste Docker Compose version. As you can see, the Docker Compose is installed. Now let's proceed with the installation of Supabase. Open the official self-host documentation of Supabase to follow along. Let's go to the home directory. Now copy the Supabase repository URL and paste it in the terminal. It will download the repository. Now go to the directory by pasting the command. Let's copy the example environment variable. Now we need to run Docker Compose pull to download all the modules. It will take a little bit time, so be patient. Now run Docker Compose up. It will start the Supabase Studio at port 8000. So let's open port 8000 in our cloud instance network. Let's access our studio. Paste your instance IP address and add the port 8000 at the end. It's asking for username and password. Let's copy the default username and password is given by the Supabase. As you can see, we are successfully logged in our self-hosted Supabase instance. Let's create a sample table. Okay, so let me create a country table where I can add multiple countries. Our table name is country, field name is title. Oh, okay, so I haven't selected the type yet. Let's choose the text type for our column. Our table has been successfully created. Let me add some sample entries to the table. Let's set up custom domain and SSL certification in our Supabase self-hosted instance. So first we need to install nginx proxy manager. Open the official website. Copy the given Docker compose YML. In our terminal, let's create a new directory called nginx. Go to the directory. Let's create our Docker compose file using nano. Type sudo nano docker compose.yml. Paste the nginx proxy manager given code. Save the file. Run docker compose up. Let's check if it's running or not. So it's running at port 80 and 81. So let's open port 80 and also open port 443 for SSL. As you can see, our nginx proxy manager is successfully installed. Let's access the proxy manager panel. First, we need to open port 81. Now paste our IP address with port 81. It's asking for email and password. Let's use default credential given by the nginx proxy manager. We have to change the default credential before working. So let me change it. Now go to the host proxy. Let's open our DNS manager. In my case, it's Cloudflare. So go to your DNS records, add a new DNS record. I will set up this on a subdomain. So I added a Supabase, and in the IPv4 address, paste the cloud instance public IP address. Now let's add proxy host. Click add proxy host. Enter the domain name. Enter the IP address. Enter 8000 in port forward. Because our Supabase Studio is running on port 8000. Save it. Let's add SSL certificate to the domain. Click on edit. Go to SSL. Request new SSL certificate. Enable force SSL. Add your email address and agree the terms and service. Click save. Now we need to run our Supabase Docker container. Go to the directory where it's installed. Run Docker compose up. It will start the Supabase Studio at port 8000. Now open the domain in the browser. Use the default credential given by Supabase. As you can see, we have set up our Supabase instance on a custom domain with SSL certificate. Let's connect it with FlutterFlow. I have set up a project called Supabase SelfHost. Let's connect our Supabase. Enable Supabase in FlutterFlow. Copy our domain URL, paste it in FlutterFlow. You can get your NN key from API docs and your environment variable. Copy this and paste it in FlutterFlow. Click on Get Schema. As you can see, there's our country table. That means we have successfully connected it to FlutterFlow.